Hi everyone, Jane here. Thank you for watching my video today and welcome. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of calming inspiration. That's our local seashore, not quite the Mediterranean, but it is still really lovely and calming. And it gave me inspiration for today's project. Now, I received a little bit of crafty money for Mother's Day from one of my children, so I decided to use it to buy. And I know I've only just got an Etchr sketchbook, but it had a little bit of money off of it. So I got myself a B5 Etchr sketchbook. And I also really wanted to try one of the Holbein Granulating paints that have been brought out recently. So I went for, of course, my favouriteest of all colours, which was Peafowl Green. So I'm starting off this project by just using some of the Neocolors, and I will list all the products I use and the colours that I use in the video. I do try to hold them up, but I'm pretty sure most of the time you can't see what colours I'm using. So I've drawn some squiggly lines that I felt were a bit wave-like on the page. And I did it with the Neocolor 2s, I should say, because I knew that if they got wet, they would let the colour run a little bit, and I thought that'd be quite nice as a mixture. So I'm starting off by filling in the gaps, and this reminds me a little bit of the neurographic art that people do. I used to do this when I was a child. I don't know if anybody else did. Let me know in the comments if you used to do this as a child, where you used to just get a pen, scribble all over a piece of paper, lots and lots of lines, and then colour all the sections in different colours. I used to do that all the time. I didn't know it was a thing. But that's sort of what I'm doing here. It wasn't intended to be that as such. It was intended to just be a very abstract sea themed background. So I'm using, to start with, the Peafowl Green. Now this is a granulating colour, so it splits into like greens and blues. It's really beautiful. It easily wet and it easily laid down with lots and lots of pigment. So I have to say I was very pleased with this colour. I have to say there have been other granulating paints that I've bought as individuals that I've not been very happy about, but this one I did think was lovely, and it gave me confidence that if in the future I decide to go for any of the other colours, that I would be happy with them as well. So I sort of went for 3 sort of strips across. I didn't want to just use this colour. I wanted, like the sea has lots of different tones, I wanted to use lots of different tones. And I did want to just make sure, because it got very wet in the seam of the book, and I didn't put any tape down because I wanted it to look like a whole sort of scene across the 2 pages, so I didn't want to split that with any tape. I got it out with the kitchen towel, and I have to say, once it all dried, I checked and it was fine. None of it had seeped through. Now this is my other very favourite paint that lovely Sharon sent me, which is the Ultramarine Turquoise from Daniel Smith. And I have to say, just having this paint has really given me a love of that brand just from this one paint. I've also now got the Under the Sea Green, which I was going to use, and then I realised afterwards I didn't use the Under the Sea Green, which would have, Under Sea Green I should say, not Under the Sea. That's a song. But Under Sea Green I was going to use, and I just totally forgot, because once I'd put these 2 colours down, I felt that I needed a deeper blue. Now I have just ordered myself an extra a tube of this now, because thanks to being sent it by Sharon, I have discovered that this is absolutely stunning. I have ordered another colour as well. I've ordered Moonglow, so it's one I've heard a bit about, so I'll let you know, and I'll do a project with it to see what that's like as well. So I think I'm starting on a new brand journey now. Well, no, I think I've got enough paint at the moment, but you know, you never know what else you're going to need. So I'm colouring in my sort of, this is the second parts that I'm colouring in. So again, I'm doing 3 strips as such across in this colour where the bits have been sort of overlapped with the lines. Now I did put tape around the page as well, and it's my very inexpensive tape from the range, not sponsored. But I just felt that I needed a bit of a border. Now this is the Qor Indigo, which again is another beautiful, beautiful paint. And I just felt it needed a little bit of contrast in the colours, just to, because I had a lot of that sort of turquoise and teal sort of vibe going on. And I wanted to get back a little bit more into that blue. And to be fair, there's no bright blues in my sea, because if you saw my if you watched that clip at the beginning, the sea near where I live isn't bright blue. It's more of a grey. It may have been reflecting the sky on that day. It wasn't the bluest of skies that day, to be fair, but I mean, it's beautiful and it's lovely anyway. I just love the sea. I love the sound of the sea. So I'm just filling those parts in. I'm not worrying where it's sort of making the lines a bit blurry, because I knew it would, as the Neocolor 2s are a water reactive product. And I also knew that because I wasn't waiting for each colour to dry, it was going to seep into other areas and blend and not be crisp. And because of that, I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going to have a little bit of play here, and I'm going to add some watermarks into the indigo, and just to see what happens, because I thought, well, even if it doesn't look perfect, it will look like watery. Now I've got two Faber Castell Polychromos pencils here. I do believe they are, let me think, Cobalt, Turquoise and Dark Indigo. And I was just going over those lines a little bit, because I felt, although I didn't mind them blurring, they had given me what I needed at the beginning by giving me that structure. But I did want them to sort of be reformed a little bit. So I sort of went between the two colours. I didn't do one particular colour. And then for some reason, none other than that I just felt like it, I decided to do a little bit of shading with the dark indigo in some of the corners where the indigo watercolour was, just because I thought it would just maybe emphasize and deepen that colour a little bit. Once I had done all the colour from the pencil, I decided that I would like to add some gold in. I always feel like gold is a nice colour for under the sea themes, and I'm just adding dots with my 3M Posca pen right around the lines of the page. I wanted to add in some more texture to the page. So I've got this stencil that I designed for Cleverprints, and it's actually called Bubbles because I did design it for an Under the Sea collection. I will link it in the description box. Just to be aware, I do not get anything for links. I'm not affiliated to any company, but obviously because I designed the stencil, if people buy it, I do get a small commission. I decided I just wanted to add a few of the circles from the circle side of the bubbles into a few of the sections. I didn't want to do loads, and I'm sort of looking through the stencil so that I can stop where the lines are. And I'm just moving the stencil around so I get a mixture of slightly bigger and slightly smaller bubbles. The pen I'm using, I do believe, is a Unipin. I think it was a 0.6. I wasn't sure if it would work on this paper, but it was actually totally fine, so I stuck with that. I wanted a thinnish line, I didn't want it to be too thick. I'm now using the Neocolor 2, so two of the ones that I used at the beginning. I don't think I used all three, I can't remember now. But anyway, the colours that I am using are Malachite, Emerald Green and Cobalt Blue. And I went through and I made sure that on each of the sections I had coloured some of them with each of the colours. I was matching it in with the background, and I didn't want them to be sort of really standing out. I just wanted them to be a part of the whole pattern of the page. I wanted to add a little bit of highlight into these bubbles, so I'm using the Copic Acrea Snow White pen. I couldn't think what it was called for a moment. And then I just decided to add in some other little sort of doodles. I'm adding in little lines because I thought it would be a little bit sort of seaweedy or corally sort of looking. So I went in with the pen with little lines. Then I realised that where the pen was sort of the acrylic needed to be reprimed, some of it had got a bit more diluted, pale. So I went back, I reprimed the pen and then went back over in some areas with some extra lines just to really make sure that they were coming out really nicely. And then I added some little dots to some of the tops as well, just to make them look like, I suppose, seagrass really. I wanted a little bit more white back into the page because I was feeling like it was all very much sort of blending together. So I'm using the same bubble stencil, but this time I'm using the sort of more elongated shapes with some white gesso just to add a little bit of sort of light back into the page. So they could be unusual bubbles, or they could be sort of like shoals of fish, or just the light dancing into the water. Once it was all dry, I removed the tape from the edges, and I was really pleased to see that actually the tape had done a really good job. Considering the amount of liquid I put onto those pages, it had really done a good job of keeping those edges nice and clean. These are some collage elements that I cut from one of the Asher Marquette Lemon Creation collage booklets. I think this one's called Funky and Wet. I will link it below. And some of the elements I'd already cut out, some I cut out ready for this. So we've got some little whales, and they're like under the sea flowers. Plus I also used one of her sentiments as well that I felt went nicely with the page. And I'm using the Grab and Glow, I always say Grab and Glow, Grab and Go glue from Indigo Blue. So thank you very much for watching today. If you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, that would be fabulous if you could hit that subscribe button. And until the next time, bye bye.